The firn layer of an Antarctic ice shelf is buzzing. Hi, I'm Elisa McGee, a PhD student at Colorado State University, and today I will share a summary of the work done by a team who discovered this ambient noise while monitoring seismic stations at the Ross Ice Shelf. As the buzzing they observed shifted, the sensitivity of firn to meltwater was revealed. The sound you've been hearing is an acoustic interpretation of seismic observations so quiet we're unable to hear them as humans, and the signal has been sped up by 1,200 times. A series of seismographs near the ice front were set up to passively monitor over a few years' time, ending in 2017. The stations were positioned where the ice shelf stability is in question. Ice shelves can be destabilized by surface melt, ponding, and hydrofracture. The higher content in firn protects the ice shelf by providing thermal insulation similar to the material that lines a cooler with ice, keeping your beverages cold and protecting it from direct solar radiation. If the firn or material walls of the cooler are breached with percolating meltwater, the cooler may not perform as well. Lukewarm beverages? No thanks. Trapped within the firn layer are signals from wind blowing across the surface, transporting snow and setting up within the shallow firn layer compression of the individual grains and shearing. Together, these stresses set up a wave motion, which is registered by seismic stations and translated into the buzzing sound you've heard. The accumulation of snow or movement of the snow across a textured surface can excite the firn layer enough to make it sing constantly. The firn song changed when it was interrupted by a warming event in January 2016. Temperatures below 0 degrees Celsius were observed at the surface, which created problems for the organized wave pattern in the firn. When the contact between grains is reduced by meltwater, the compressional and shear stresses are no longer as effective at setting up that wave motion. The softening of the layer likely also weakened the intricate connections between snow and grains, compounded by the refreezing process after the melt event. These changes in the firn layer can be visualized as a series of frequency shifts in a spectrogram. But what is a spectrogram? Here you will see my voice explaining a spectrogram. Spectrograms are useful to visualize how the signal strength evolves over time and when frequencies occurred. Time is on the horizontal axis and frequency is on the vertical, which can be thought of as pitch or tone. The third dimension, color, represents where there is more or less energy at a particular frequency. Dark hues correspond to low amplitudes, and brighter colors, larger amplitudes. This spectrogram figure from the study is split into pre-melt and post-melt periods. Early on, the frequency pattern is established at regular intervals. Following the onset of the melt event, you can see it takes a few days of lag, but there is a downshift in the pattern to a lower frequency. The melt event concludes when temperatures return to sub-freezing at the surface, yet the pre-melt reference pattern is not reestablished in the post-melt period. It's only partially reversed, which indicates a long-term effect by meltwater compaction and layer thinning. So what's next for listening to the firn to hear structural changes? Improving firn modeling by acquiring more seismic data, setting up an array of small seismic instruments alongside stations which collect weather and vertical temperature profile data would provide a more complete story of what's happening in the firn as the ambient noise shifts. These shifts from storms or melt events may become more frequent in the future at southern ice shelves. Please feel free to email me if you'd like to connect. Thanks for your time.